What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Solar System, where we help you understand the system your soul goes into. This is Moon Days with Michael. I'm your host, the Royal Triangle Michael, and I am cutting out the esoteric middleman and giving you the tools you need to connect yourself right to the source. Now, in this masterclass series, the Orion constellation, we're talking about, you guessed it, the Orion constellation, right? And in this series, or in this episode, we are talking about Meissa, the head of the Orion constellation. The cool thing about Meissa is that it's actually a multiple star system. I don't know if you guys just heard what I've just heard. Anyways, so you guys know the drill. Hopping into talking about Meissa's physical placements, its orb, its nature, and of course its influence and what it means to have this placed in your chart. So without any further ado, let's start hopping in and talking about the fixed star, Meissa. Alright, so Meissa can be found in about 2350 to 24 degrees of Gemini, and it has an orb of 2, like most other fixed stars, right? So, without any further ado, let's start talking about its influences. Alright guys, so Meissa is a very calm star. It's not as aggressive or violent as Betelgeuse or Bellatrix. It's not as willing to jump the gun as Rigel is. And it's not as go with the flow and cut up stuff such as Scythe is, right? It's very stable in its influence, and it doesn't really influence a whole lot. But it's still kind of important given its physical placement of being the head of the Orion constellation. It's not necessarily the head of the Orion constellation because it's its leader, but you have to think about what the head means down here, right? This is your first house. Now think about what your first house, your crown chakra, is down here, right? It's your personality, your space, your approach to life, and kind of how people see you at first glance, like the mask that you put on to people, right? And so if you think about it like that, then what does this mean being the star placed in the crown chakra or the first house of the Orion constellation? The Orion constellation is the hunter. It has that hunter mindset where you have to go out, think, hunt, put your emotions aside in order for you to achieve your task and to eat that day, right? And with Meissa being the head of the Orion constellation, this star is living in the space. It is giving off the energy of the space of the Orion constellation, right? It is the persona of the Orion constellation. So Meissa doesn't necessarily impact us as much as, say, the other stars, but it represents the space that the Orion constellation is in. So having this placed in your chart, I hear humans. I don't like humans. They bother me. So having this placed in your chart is very good depending on where you have it placed, right? When you have to focus and dial in on a certain kind of plan or aspect or kind of structure system that you're creating, this is very good because it is the space of focusing on your mission in order for you to eat that day, right? Which is why this has very Mars and Mercury type of influence. Most of the other stars in the Orion constellation have a Mars and Jupiterian influence, whereas Meissa has a very Mars and Mercury type of influence because it is focused on its mission but also being stable and carrying out that mission. Now, the weird thing about Meissa is that it's not as, say, violent or destructive as Bellatrix. It's not as fortunate as Rigel or Betelgeuse. It's more so just a mindset that comes down here to influence you, right? So when the sun joins this star, right, what happens? You can see the whole mind of the world change into being very focused on achieving the goal that they have set out to do. So this is a very middle-grounded star, right? It's not fortunate, it's not unfortunate, it's not destructive, it's not bad or good in the way they use it. It's a mindset, and the mindset is only as good or bad as you, the person utilizing it. So Meissa is pretty neutral, right? It's just the representation of the space of the Orion constellation, and it's not fortunate, it's not unfortunate, it's not destructive, it's not benevolent, or what's the opposite of destruction? Creation? Yeah, creation. I don't know why that was so hard to think of. But yeah, that's Meissa, the fixed star of the Orion constellation that represents the first house, aka the crown chakra, aka your head, right? It is in 2350, moving into the 24 degree mark of Gemini with an orb of 2, like most other stars in the Orion constellation. It has the nature of the Mars and Mercury aspect, with the Mercury being the more dominant one because this is mostly a mind state, a space that you're living in. It's not super fortunate, and it's also not unfortunate, right? This all depends on how you use it. Unlike other stars where the star typically brings you fortune or unfortune, this star's fortune or unfortune all depends on you. How are you using it? How are you moving along with this energy? Are you being aware of it? Are you analyzing the situation and space that you're in? Are you focusing on the mission that you have and things you have to carry out? If you are, chances are this is going to be a very fortunate placement for you. If not, well, you might want to flip things around before this gets bad. But yeah, that's Meissa. Next time on the Orion constellation, we're going to start diving into probably the three most famous stars in the Orion constellation, and arguably stars in the sky. We're going to start talking about the Orion's Belt, a star system that contains not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 6 stars. Can you believe it? I can't till I was told about it by myself, which is weird how that works. In the next episode of the Orion constellation, we're going to start diving into the Orion's Belt by talking about noises outside. What can I say? Anilam, or however you say this word over here. I'm doing this off of memory. Anyways, yeah, that'll be the first star that we're going to be talking about in the Orion constellation, in the belt of the Orion constellation. And if I'm not mistaken, it is the middle star, or whatever star is circled over there, of the Orion Belt. So yeah, anyway, if you guys would like to request a reading, email us at readings@solarsystems.org. And you want to stay up to date on the daily alignments, basically have an understanding of every day's energy every day in the daily, what's going around with the energy of the stars and constellations and the spaces that we're moving through, then go ahead and check out our Instagram, @SolarSystems, where you can keep yourself up to date with that energy. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Fly high, bitches.